It's always a great day to learn more and improve and grow and begin to achieve even more in our lives. So, as we get started here, we welcome you to the Dream Big, Go Hard, Achieve More, Do It Now webinar. Griffin Hill is a human and organizational performance company. We help our clients to elevate achievement in every aspect of their lives. And today we're focusing on really one of the fundamental principles and fundamental aspects of doing exactly that, elevating achievement. So it's okay to dream big. It's okay to go hard. It's okay to achieve more, but it's important to do it now. And that's what this webinar is all about. Hello, my name is Scott Baird. I'm the founder of Griffin Hill, and Griffin Hill is an important partner with our clients to help elevate human and organizational achievement. It's the same thing we did for people like iHeartMedia. I recently had a review with them of what we've accomplished for them in the last year. We helped them to exceed their big, hairy, audacious goal by 350%. That's just a remarkable outcome from the combination of strategic planning and training interventions that we've done at iHeartMedia. It's consistent with the results we get for other people. So we're anxious to connect with you at any time. We'd love to join with you on Twitter and LinkedIn. And we remind you that you can submit questions or comments anytime during this webinar just by using the chat section. So just post your comment or question in the chat section, and I'll make sure I pick it up and respond to it as we go forward. And then anytime on Twitter and LinkedIn, we'd love to have connections with you. Important to this principle of growth and achievement is this quote from William Jennings Bryan. I just love it. Destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. So frequently when we talk about destiny, we talk about it as a foregone conclusion that no matter what we do, it is our destiny that there be certain outcomes. And William Jennings Bryan makes the clear point, destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of the choices that we make. And therefore, it's not a thing to be waited for. It's a thing to be achieved. I just love that wonderful insight from William Jennings Bryan, and it really focuses our attentions on what we're doing today. We're going to be talking about the way to elevate choices, decision making, and how to elevate performance, not waiting for it, but accomplishing it now. Here's our promise. Today's content will arm you intellectually, emotionally, and psychologically to make better decisions. Well, that's what he said. Destiny is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. It's not a thing to be waited for, it's a thing to be achieved. So when we become armed intellectually, emotionally, psychologically to make better decisions, then we can reach for a better destiny. And that's our promise today. Today's content is going to do that for you, arm you intellectually, emotionally, and psychologically to make better decisions, because as we all know, our decisions determine our destiny. So take control. This is where we begin to take control. Take control of your learning, take control of your goals, take control of your effort, take control of your destiny. Now, one of the things that we do at Griffin Hill is we participate in the education of the rising generation. Several universities use Griffin Hill content specifically in their entrepreneurial programs, their business programs, and in their sales programs. Brigham Young University, Washington University of Business, which is an international university located in Mexico, are some of the universities that utilize Griffin Hill content. One of the things that we know, we often participate in the classroom in those classes. And one of the things that I've observed is that every student has their laptop out and they're making furious notes. Today, use your laptop to observe the webinar, but make your note-taking handwritten notes. And the reason for that is because all the research demonstrates Two things. The benefit of taking notes on your laptop is you can capture more content. All the research verifies that. But here's the amazing thing that we learn. The research also tells us that taking handwritten notes enhances learning and knowledge. So there's the first tidbit from today's webinar. That learning is enhanced by handwritten notes. So today, use your laptop to get the webinar, but utilize handwritten notes to capture information. And that will be valuable to you as we experiment with some of the principles that we're going to talk about today. So take control of your learning, and it starts right there. Get out a yellow pad or a notebook or a scratch paper from your garbage can and make handwritten notes today. Because as you take control of your learning from handwritten notes, it will enhance understanding. What we're going to do today is going to help you to take control of your goals. When we talk about learning, frequently it is said that knowledge is power. I disagree with that. Knowledge is potential power. Our goals organize and plan to utilize that potential. It is our effort that becomes the power. So our knowledge is potential power. Our goals organize that potential, and it is our effort, our work, that helps us to really realize that power, and thereby we reap the destiny. So take control of your learning, take control of your goals, take control of your effort, take control of your destiny. That's what we're focusing on today as we talk about the High Performance Journal. Now, Abby Bonnell at iHeartMedia, one of our clients that we just referenced, talked about the High Performance Journal in this way. She says it's got loads of research behind it, in her delightful British accent, and that's absolutely true. And the focus of the webinar today is to elucidate some of the research behind the High Performance Journal. The other thing she said, of course, is that the High Performance Journal helps you to take control. Take control of your learning, take control of your goals, take control of your effort and your destiny. But today we're going to focus on, excuse me, as we talk about the High Performance Journal, we're going to focus on 5 different elements of the research. So Abby had this exactly right. There's loads of research behind it, and we're going to dump at least this load on you today. 5 different researchers talking about the principles used in the Griffin Hill High Performance Journal. So we'll teach the principles and the research and the power behind them. So today's emphasis is on giving you the knowledge that will help you to be a conscious performer when you use the High Performance Journal or when you use the principles from the High Performance Journal. So it's not inherently necessary that you use the Griffin Hill High Performance Journal to get these results. But the High Performance Journal is available to you, and it's probably the least expensive way to get the power of this research in your life. So as we talk about these principles and the research from each of these elements, you can know that all of it is in the High Performance Journal. The High Performance Journal, like all the Griffin Hill products and systems, is like Prego. It's in there. All the research is in there. But we're going to teach you these research principles today so that you can get the very most power out of them. The 5 things that we're going to hit today is the human performance yo-yo. That's not what Dr. Inouye and Dr. Gong called it, but we're going to call it that today, the human performance yo-yo. Then we're going to talk about some work done by Mueller and Oppenheimer, the signal growth activity. Now, I really debated on using that word. It's not a word we use much in common conversation, that word signal, but it means notable, the notable growth activity. And we're going to talk about that and reference the research. And this is, Mueller and Oppenheimer are just 2 researchers of thousands that have talked about the powerful growth available from this growth activity. Then we're going to talk about the question behavior effect, and we're going to reference Sprott et al. But again, this is just one study. It's a meta-study of 116 other researchers' studies, well, other research studies, more researchers than that, on the question behavior effect. And then we're going to talk about Bloom's taxonomy, Benjamin Bloom, and the amazing secret to better leadership and better self-talk from Dr. Gottman. Now, again, all of this is to underscore the performance power of the Griffin Hill High Performance Journal. Again, it's not inherently necessary that you use the High Performance Journal to take advantage of these principles. So our purpose today is to teach you these principles and then help you to see how the High Performance Journal uses them, so that you can get the power, the high performance power. That this is just a high octane opportunity to elevate individual performance. As we think about typical training results, this is the Inouye and Gong research. We talk about it in terms of the yo-yo effect, the human performance yo-yo. But what comes out of training normally, so today, what comes out of today is an immediate bump in your performance. You're going to be a better performer because you chose to participate in this webinar today. And that's typical of training results, that there is an immediate performance bump, a performance gain associated with training results. But here's the other thing that Dr. Inouye and Dr. Gong discovered. With the passage of time, so you can see that on our little graph here, we see this immediate bump that we get from a training intervention, and it reaches an apex very quickly. And that will happen to you as a result of today's training. But the other thing that Dr. Inouye and Dr. Gong discovered is that there is also this apex of performance is followed by decay. And this decay takes us back to about the level of performance that we were at before the training intervention. So there's where our performance was before the training intervention. The training intervention led us to a significant bump, followed by decay, and it took us back to about where we were before the training intervention. So that's what happens to you today. You're going to get a bump in performance as you learn about these important principles of human performance. It will be followed by decay. Now, we're going to give you some techniques, tips, and tricks today to help you to say, look, I don't want decay to set in. That sounds like I'm going to the dentist, and that's painful. What I want to do is I want to maintain a high level of performance as a result of this webinar learning intervention. Well, we're going to give you some tools for that. One of those is the High Performance Journal. That's why we're talking about it today. And we're going to show you how that works with Griffin Hill. So really, this is just the high performance or the human performance yo-yo. We call it at Griffin Hill the cybernetic regression effect. So if you look at this first little bump in performance, that's exactly like what we just looked at over here. There's the first part of that performance improvement right there. It looks much like this. So this is the cybernetic regression curve that we utilize at Griffin Hill. What we know is that training stimulates higher performance, but that higher performance is followed by decay. And our experience, our research tells us that that decay goes past our norm. There's the norm, that red line, and goes below it. So we call it cybernetic because it functions within tolerances. So it's not unlike your thermostat. Your thermostat is an example of a cybernetic system. It works within tolerances. If you set your thermostat to 70 degrees, it kicks on and it takes your temperature to 71 degrees, and then it shuts down and it dips below 70 degrees to 69 degrees, and it kicks back on, takes you past 70 degrees to 71 degrees, it kicks off. That's cybernetic, meaning the performance of your thermostat functions within tolerances. Well, human performance is the same way. It functions within tolerances. Think about when you were a college student and you started off every semester. This semester is going to be the one. I'm going to get perfect 4.0, and your effort follows that commitment. And at the end of the first series of tests and assignments, you've completed 100% of all assignments at a very high score. Your tests are 98%. You're getting a high A. And then you realize, man, I don't need to get 98 to 100% on everything. What I need is a 94% on everything. I can put in not quite as much effort and get the results. And so our effort declines, and so do our results. And at the next test, we're at 88%. And we go, oh my goodness, I've slacked my effort. I'm down at 88%. I've really got to kick it in gear again here. And that's how human performance works. We rarely perform right at our norm. We perform on a sliding curve that goes above and below our norm. So we know that that's the normal pattern of human performance at Griffin Hill. What we're looking to do is change the line. We're looking to move that line and make it higher. That's how at Griffin Hill we elevate human performance. So today we know that that's going to happen to your performance, and this training effect is going to create gain followed by decay. We just want to move that line today and hold it at a new higher place, so that you get the results that we typically see with Griffin Hill. So there's the typical training results that we've talked about, but at Griffin Hill, this is what we see. So for example, we engaged a sales team that in the first 90 days, we increased their new sales results by around, it was about 498% or something, 408%. The next quarter, it dipped a little bit. It was around 398%. But the next quarter, it was over 600%. And the final quarter of the year, over 1,000%. That's what happens with coaching technology. And one of those coaching technologies is to journal, taking notes and journaling. What we know from the research, that this is a signal, notable growth activity, journaling. And so every coaching session, so we've talked about this again, Griffin Hill results. Griffin Hill results are they are the result, new higher levels of performance are the result of Griffin Hill coaching. Griffin Hill coaching technology elevates those results so that we can change the line. We're looking at a new place for the norm of your lives. And the way that happens is using Griffin Hill coaching technology. I jumped ahead a little bit. Sorry about that. Every coaching session for a Griffin Hill coach begins and ends with a journal activity. Journaling, here's what all the research tells us, including the research as we talked about it with Mueller and Oppenheimer. All the research about journaling tells us that it improves critical thinking skills. It facilitates learner progress. It enhances performance development. It stimulates growth and fosters maturity. Here you thought maturity came with the passage of time. Not true. If we just closet ourselves from stimulus, then we never really change or grow or develop or progress or mature. And so the signal growth of activity is note-taking and journaling. So we've told you already that as you take notes today, we invite you to take those notes in your own handwriting, because understanding is better than when you type your notes. So let's look at the high performance journal cycle. So after we look at this high performance journal cycle, then we'll look at the journal and show you how note taking and journaling, the journaling activity itself, helps to facilitate critical thinking, how it stimulates, facilitates progress, enhances development, and stimulates growth and fosters maturity. So it starts with this cycle. So here's the first learning part about journaling. Just writing doesn't accomplish this. We're not talking about free thought writing like you might do in your personal journal every night if you're a journal writer. We're talking about high performance journal activities. We're talking about a journal that elevates performance, and that starts right here as you participate in developmental events. It could be a training event like this, a webinar, a seminar, a course, a class, any kind of a training event where you take notes in longhand. That's how the high performance journal cycle begins. It could be a business meeting or another meeting that you attend. It could be a religious meeting where you expect to be stimulated with performance or growth activities. It could be a goal session. But as part of that training or a meeting or a goal session, at the conclusion of the session, then you're going to want to take time to reflect and to write. So this writing won't be handwritten. That happened up here during the event, during the training, during the goal setting. Now you're reflecting on the notes, the content of that intervention to say what was important. This is where critical thinking is really enhanced. As you think about from this training, from this meeting, from this goal session, what was important to me? You have to be discriminating. You have to be discerning. Critical thinking begins as you ask yourself that question. What was important out of this training session? So you're keeping lengthy notes. Right now, you shouldn't be overly discriminating in your note taking. That comes as you reflect and you write in your high performance journal cycle. Once you've discerned and narrowed down what was important to 3 to 5 things, and again, I'm not an overly avid fan about 5 things. I think it's the first 3 things that are most important. And from those, but 3 to 5, from those 3 to 5 things, what you're now asking yourself is, what's my desired outcome? What do I want to have happen in my life? How do I want to grow? How do I want to progress? How do I want to develop? How do I want to mature? And what desirable thing do I want to have happen in my life? This is, again, the high performance journal cycle. As you engage in this cycle, it's going to lead you to the high performance journal right here. So you'll notice this is the reflect and write. This is where you're going to choose the 3 to 5 things that were important to you from the meeting, from the discussion, from the training. What 3 to 5 things were important to you? What resonated with your soul? What did you find to be useful to you? Right here, that's where you synthesize. You get to ask yourself the question, what do I want to have happen as a result of what I learned? These 3 to 5 things that I found to be important. As a result of that, what desirable outcome? What do I want to have happen in my life? And then the next step, what 3 things am I willing to do? This is where the action comes in. What 3 things am I willing to do to accomplish this? Based on the things that I found important. Well, look, what you've now done is create an opportunity. If you'll go back and think about our typical results, typically from training, now decay sets in and you forget. But journal, being a notable or signal activity, can continue Based on what you learned in the training intervention, you've written 3 to 5 things, you've selected a desired outcome, and now action items. 1 to 3 things that you're willing to commit to do to get that great desired outcome based on things that were important to you. Journaling now makes that training fresh every day. It makes that training new and important every day. So from today's notes, you're indiscriminately taking notes, writing things that come to your mind, writing things about this training that you're participating in, kind of indiscriminately. Then you're going to reflect on those notes. You're going to go back and look at them and say, what really stood out to me? What was important to me? What did Dr. Baird say that I just don't want to forget? This is just too important to me. And then I'm going to choose a desired outcome. And then I'm going to choose action items. One of the action items that you should choose as a result of today's training is high performance journal. I will engage in a high performance journal activity associated with every training intervention, whether it's a training, a coaching session, a meeting, a church meeting, or a goal session. I will engage in high performance journal writing associated with that session. Meaning, I'm going to reflect and write, I'm going to choose a desired outcome, and I'm going to choose activities that I will engage to ensure I get that delightful outcome and result that I seek in my life. So now you're starting to see the power from what Mueller and Oppenheimer talked about. Journal writing can help facilitate our growth and our development and our maturity and our progress. The high performance journal helps to stimulate that, helps to stimulate critical thinking as we reflect and write. It stimulates critical thinking as we select a desired outcome. It stimulates activity and changes our behavior as we commit to 1 to 3 actions associated with that training. Now we take that previously viewed training curve down here and we say, look, I can push that up just by turning it into, I can push this all up just by engaging in a daily journaling activity using the high performance journal every day. Well, that's the high performance journal cycle. And you look at this screenshot of a high performance journal and you begin to see how that works. So every coaching session ends right there. Please write in your high performance journal. Reflect on the content of today's coaching session. Choose 3 to 5 things that were important to you and capture them in your reflect and write section. Select what you would like to have happen in your life as a result of these 3 to 5 things that you learned. Choose actions that will help you to accomplish those things. Well, now we've looked at the research from Inouye and Gong. What happens in typical training? Typical training stimulates improved performance followed by decay. How do you correct that? Journaling. By journaling every day, you refresh the content from that training exercise. You've selected a desired outcome and action items that you're committed to. Now we're looking at the Oppenheimer and the Mueller and Oppenheimer piece. Journaling is an activity that will help us to hold on to our high performance patterns of behavior so that we don't fall into decay, but we get that Griffin Hill effect. That Griffin Hill effect is that we elevate the norm of our performance. Well, the next part of this behavior, we talked about the question behavior effect. More than 116 studies reviewed by Sprott and his research companions And this question behavior effect is quite amazing. It, again, stimulates critical thinking skills, but it increases the likelihood of future performance. That's key here today. And that's one of the things that we get out of the high performance journal. It increases when we go, let's go back and look at the high performance journal. When we ask ourselves, what is it that you found instructive, useful, beneficial to you today? We're asking ourselves a question. That's what we're talking about right here, the question behavior effect. We're asking ourselves a question. What did you find useful? What is it you want to have happen as a result of what you learned here? We're asking ourselves a question. What is it you're willing to do? What will you do in order to get this desirable outcome? What are you willing to commit to get this desirable outcome? Well, all of that is the question behavior effect. What we know is that goal setting, there's a critical goal setting principle. Don't just tell, ask. Ask yourself, what outcome do I desire? What will I be willing to do to get that outcome? When you ask yourself, there's the question, and then you follow that with an expressed intent. I intend to get this outcome in my life. I will get this outcome in my life. I will commit. I commit now to do these things. What we find is that it increases the likelihood of future performance. That's what all the research in these 116 studies teaches us, that when we ask ourselves questions, followed by an expressed intent of action, it increases the likelihood of that future performance. So again, that's built right in here to the Griffin Hill High Performance Journal. Right here, we're engaging in the question behavior effect. What did I find useful? What is it I want to have happen in my life? What will I do? What am I willing to commit to do in order to get that desired outcome? That's all the great research of the question behavior effect. It increases the likelihood of our future performance, which is just delightful. So now we've talked about the Inouye Gong yo-yo effect and how we're going to correct for that by using the journal every day. We've talked about Mueller and Oppenheimer talking about thinking, writing in a high-performance journal, writing with a goal orientation in mind. That's what the high-performance journal does. Stimulates growth, progression, development, maturity, critical thinking. The question behavior effect, again, stimulates critical thinking, but it increases the likelihood of our future performance. And when we use the high performance journal every day, then it recaptures what occurred in the training event. Whatever the event was, whether it was training or a coaching session, a class, whether any kind of business meeting, a church meeting, a recovery meeting, or a goal session. Using the high performance journal every day helps now to hold on to the knowledge we gained. Remember, we talked about controlling your knowledge, controlling your goals. The goal is that desired outcome, now controlling our effort. So if we go back and look at high performance journal, we're going to control the knowledge. We're going to control the desired outcome, our goals. Now we're going to control our efforts. And as a result, we're going to control our destiny. That's what the high performance journal does. So if we're back to the high performance journal cycle, think about training events or classes that happen, coaching sessions. We coach on regular schedules. We either coach once a month or once a week. Weekly coaching sessions are more powerful, again, for the decay effect. So if you're in a weekly coaching session, after the coaching session, you're going to engage in your high performance journal, asking yourself, What stood out to me? What was important? What do I not want to forget? What outcome do I want from the learning today? What am I willing to commit to do in order to get that learning? If you want to elevate your overall performance, one of the things that you should put in your action item, I'm willing to commit to do, it should be, I'm willing to commit to write in a high performance journal every day. If you make that commitment, if you ask yourself, am I willing to commit to write in a high performance journal every day? And you answer, yes, I'm willing to do that. And you write that right there in your action items, it will elevate your performance. Now, again, you don't need the Griffin Hill High Performance Journal to start getting the effects, but you can certainly get the High Performance Journal, and it will be the most cost-effective way for you to do this, and it will be the most effective way. Why? Because it's backed by loads of research. The way it's organized, its flow, the way it asks questions are all designed to get the most powerful effect out of the utility of the high performance journal. So when you're reflecting and writing, here's what you're asking. What are the facts? What are the essential elements that I don't want to forget? What did they mean to me? Followed by, how did I feel about that? What are my desires? What do I want to have happen? What am I willing to do? Fact, meaning, feeling, action. Every coaching session concludes in that way. Well, once you've got that going, you're ready for the celebrate piece. As we talked about, every coaching session concludes with, what are the facts? What stood out to you? What was essential? What did that mean to you? What do you want to have happen? What are you willing to do? Fact, meaning, feeling. Or fact, meaning, feeling, action. Now you're ready for the next piece. Every Griffin Hill coaching session starts with, go back and think about last week's reflect and write. What did you want to have happen? What did you commit to do? What were the results? Now you get to reflect on, what am I going to celebrate? I had this training intervention last week. I wrote these things. The next day, I used my journal to reflect on my action items. How did I do with my action items? Am I working my way towards the desired outcome I'm looking for? What am I going to celebrate about my activities? What am I going to celebrate about my commitment? This is in day 2, right after the training event. What am I going to celebrate about my performance, my commitments, my learning? What am I going to celebrate? 1 to 3 things that I'm going to celebrate. Perhaps there was something I could have improved, a helpful observation that will make me even better. And you're going to write that on day 2. You're also then going to use the second part of your high performance journal. You're going to score yourself with regard to, how was my will and motivation? Was it low energy or was it high energy? Did I give good energy to my action items? What about fear and anxiety? Did I feel like I was out of control? Or did I have a high sense of control? That I was in control of my action items and I acted on them. What about my attendance? Did I really go back and look at those 3 to 5 things that were most important to me? Remember, this is how you hold on to it. This is how you protect against decay. We attend the meeting, but we attend to the learning that occurred. We said this is going to help you to take control of your learning. And you do that by just getting those 3 to 5 bullets, the most important things, and then you attend to it every day. What about my confidence? Did I feel like I was kind of passive aggressive about it? Or was I just assertive in my behavior? How about my decision making? Did I make good decisions? And you're going to do this on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, and then you're back into a coaching session. And the coach is going to say to you, go back and look. How did you do? How did you score yourself? What was the outcome? And in this way, you're going to preserve the knowledge, and you're going to continue to elevate your progress. So if you'll go back and think about this Griffin Hill curve, not only are you going to get immediate performance results by using the journal, 3 things you're doing well. Wow, that worked really well. I'm going to keep doing that. Oh, here was a thing that didn't work so well. I'm going to change that up a bit. Now I even did some things even better than yesterday because I learned from yesterday's growth and I learned some things that I'm going to correct. So your progression curve starts to look like this, and it starts to go off the charts. That's what happens with the High Performance Journal. It changes everything about your performance, from every business meeting, from every class you take, from every goal setting session you're in. Everything about it using the High Performance Journal is accelerated. That's why, as you go forward now, you want to commit to use the High Performance Journal. Okay, so you can go down to the local bookstore and buy a new journal. It costs you about $25. You get that nice leather-bound thing. Or you can buy a spiral notebook and a series of them. But those are better for your note-taking. You're going to capture all the power of the research that we've just described for less than $10 a year. You can go get that High Performance Journal. In fact, I think somebody will post, some of our staff will post how you can go get access to the High Performance Journal and utilize it in your own life. But importantly, these principles you can start to put to effect by using that High Performance Journal every day. So you can look in your in the chat section probably and see how to go get that High Performance Journal and see how to start making it come alive in your life. We talked about the Bloom's taxonomy. Benjamin Bloom wrote this taxonomy in 1956. Still today, it is the standard of instructional design. Because Bloom taught us we shouldn't be teaching just for knowledge. We should be teaching for comprehension. Remember, we just said that if you write handwritten notes, you're going to increase knowledge and comprehension rather than not taking notes at all, and even better than taking notes on your computer. But Bloom said we ought to turn knowledge and comprehension into application. People ought to be able to use the information. And they ought to be able to think critically about that information. They ought to be able to break it down into its component parts and synthesize a new whole. They ought to be able to make evaluations about it. Well, let's go see how the High Performance Journal cycle helps us to do that. When we ask ourselves what were the facts, what were the meaning, we're doing exactly what Bloom suggested in stage 1, select, list, write. If we want to get to comprehension, identify, explain. But when we get to a desired outcome, it's construct and apply and conclude. When we get to the action, it's not only apply, but we're going to organize ourselves. We're going to relate it to us. But in the High Performance Journal, we don't stop there. We go to judge, evaluate, adjust. It is in the High Performance Journal. Look, we've just talked about 5 important pieces of research. Inouye and Gong, the typical training effect. Typical training effect is it can stimulate new performance. We can get better at something as a result of a training intervention. But quickly that decays. High Performance Journal, according to Mueller and Oppenheimer, all the research indicates this is going to help facilitate our growth. We're going to be able to hold on to what we learned in that training intervention, whether it was a goal setting intervention or a meeting that we were in or a class, using the journal every day in the interim between classes, between journal goal setting evaluation sessions. We use the journal every day. And as a result, we elevate our abilities and we grow and we progress, just as Bloom suggested in his taxonomy. We get beyond knowledge to comprehension. We get beyond application to being able to analyze. We get beyond analysis to being able to utilize these principles and tools in new ways in our lives, in whole new ways. And we get to evaluate starting with celebrations. Did you notice that? Here's the Gottman research. Gottman is one of the foremost relationship scientists in the world today. And what he tells us is that celebration stimulates progress and growth and performance far quicker than criticism. Isn't that great? And here it is right here in the High Performance Journal. When we get to that evaluation portion that we talked about in Bloom's taxonomy, it's right here in your High Performance Journal, but we're doing that in a way that starts with celebration. Again, taking advantage of the research. What we know about the research is that celebration helps us to grow faster than criticism. So when we celebrate what we did well, what did I do well based on what I wanted to learn? Am I making progress? What did I do well to make progress toward my desired outcome? What worked well on my action items? What 3 things did I do really well? And when you do that, you're able to get right back here, as we talked about the Griffin-Hill effect. Here's the Griffin-Hill effect. And we can come right back here and say, what did I do well? I'm going to keep doing that. What one thing do I want to change? Okay, I'm going to eliminate that, but I'm going to really expound on what I did well, and I'm going to get better at it. There's the Griffin-Hill effect. And that's why the High Performance Journal gives you an accelerated growth curve. It accelerates your understanding, it accelerates your knowledge, it helps stimulate progress, and it facilitates your maturity in knowledge, skill, and performance. Everything about it gives you better results. Well, let's go one more here. That's why you're going to want in your action items from today to think about, what am I willing to do to get better productivity, higher levels of performance, more achievement than ever before in my life? And that's how you do it. You can go to griffinhill.com/achieve and you can get the High Performance Journal there. It's going to cost you less than $10 a year to do that. But you know now, you've got the consciousness, you're consciously competent. You're now held accountable for, you know what the traditional training effect is. You've got to be committed to using a journal of some kind every day. If you're using a high performance journal, it's going to help you to get the benefits, not just of journaling, as Mueller and Oppenheimer talked about, but it's going to help with the question and behavior effect. As you ask yourself good questions, what was important to me out of this event or out of this discussion? You can do this for every day. What was important for me today? What's my desired outcome out of that? What 3 things am I willing to commit to do? And then in each successive day, you're going to start in that same place, but you're going to continue it all the way through. 3 celebrations, taking advantage of the Gottman research that tells us we've got to have 3 to 5 celebrations for every one helpful observation. Others call this criticism. I don't think it ought to be phrased in terms of a criticism. It ought to be one thing that I've observed that I can improve. When we organize in this way, all the research tells us that our performance improves. Well, so take just a moment now, though you may not have the High Performance Journal. If you're a client, you do, you've got access to it. Get in your High Performance Journal right now. Look at your notes. Take a moment to reflect. What stood out to you? What was important to you? Was it when we talked about the typical training results from Inouye and Gong? Or when Mueller and Oppenheimer told us journaling helps to stimulate critical thinking and facilitates growth and progress? Or was it when we finally got to the Griffin-Hill High Performance Journal and the High Performance Journal cycle, and we understood the question behavior effect, that when we ask ourselves questions about what will you do about this, and then we express our intent, the likelihood of future performance elevates. Or was it just seeing how all of that research, as Abby Bonnell from iHeartMedia said, the High Performance Journal not only is a great tool, but it's got loads of research behind it. Or was it when you understood that, wow, if I'm going to be a better leader, I've got to make sure that I am leading from celebration. Celebration of strengths helps to elevate performance much quicker than criticism or weakness. So as a leader, I've got to do a better job of growing from my strengths or celebrating strengths. Where was it you had something stand out to you? Write 3 to 5 things that you don't want to forget. Write 3 to 5 things that were important to you in this instructional session. Based on that, what do you hope to get out of it? What's one thing you want to get out of what you learned today? What's a desired outcome for you? Choose at least one action item. What are you willing to commit to do in order to get that desired outcome? Look, you can have better performance results in every aspect of your life. School, work, personal life, exercise, weight loss, no matter what it is, you can have whatever your desired outcome is, you can get better results by committing, by choosing an action item right here. I will use High Performance Journal cycle. I will use High Performance Journal principles. I will use High Performance Journal every day to get better results. And then every day celebrating your strengths. Okay, you're not going to get to that yet because you've got something to do tomorrow. You've got action items. But tomorrow, you're going to start over again. Hey, how did things go? I'm going to reflect on what I learned. I'm going to reflect on that outcome. I'm going to reflect on my action items. And then I'm going to think about what was important to me. And I'm going to reiterate that desired outcome. I'm going to talk about some things I'm going to do to keep going, but I'm going to celebrate. This is what worked well. 1 to 3 things. Perhaps one thing that was a useful observation. Okay, you should have written now what stood out to you. You should have selected a desired outcome. You should have selected at least one action item. Now it's time for the final exam. The final exam is not a test about Inouye and Gong. What did Inouye and Gong say about training effect? It's not a test about what is the question behavior effect. It's not a test about what is cybernetic regression. That really doesn't matter. Though you've got that knowledge, what matters is, what are you going to do? Your behavior now should reflect your learning. What will you do? Knowing that the High Performance Journal is like Prego, all of that research is in there. When you use the journal, you're taking advantage of what we learned from Inouye and Gong. You're taking advantage of what we learned from Mueller and Oppenheimer. You're taking advantage of what we learned from Sprotter et al. You're taking advantage of what Gottman taught us. You're taking advantage of everything Griffin Hill teaches us you. What the question is, what will you do? What are you committed to do? How do you intend to use these principles? How will you share them with other people? Look, if you've got any questions about this or observations, please feel free to drop a note. You can tweet out your experience here. You can connect with us on Twitter and LinkedIn. But importantly, engage in the question behavior effect. If you want to elevate performance in your life, ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? How do I intend to use these principles? How am I going to share them with others? What we know about med school, this is the learning mechanism of med school. If you're going to do an operation, the first thing you do, you learn the principles. That's what we just did. Then you do one. That's the first question. What are you going to do? Then you do one. Then first you observe one, as we've just done. Then you do one, and then you teach one. One of the things that you can do to elevate your performance is, having learned this information, act on it, and then teach it to somebody else. Well, I hope this information has been useful to you. Uh, Give some serious thought to the final exam. It's not about just, can you remember the names of the researchers we referenced? Or can you remember the high performance journal cycle? It's just, what will you do about it? How do you intend to use these principles? How will you share them with other people? I wish for you all the elevated performance that you deserve as you apply these principles in your life. Best wishes and high performance to you all.